In today's show, the Blazers go into Orlando and stomp out the Magic, a dominant showing in the City Beautiful. Are we sure this is the plan? Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making this show your first listen, coming at you each and every weekday. So make it a part of your daily routine. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. In today's show, we're going to talk about a dominant win, just the Blazers' second 20-plus point victory of the season, a 101-79 beatdown of the Magic in Orlando, a game where I thought they played really well and the Magic didn't, and it really showed up in the box score in ways that it hasn't always for the Blazers this season. I also want to talk a little bit about organizational alignment. If everyone is pulling the rope in the same direction, even in a really good game like this, I think the process we need to talk about process a little bit here. And then finally, it's impossible for me to watch the Orlando Magic score 79 points and not think that they could use help from a certain combo guard that grew up in the area. Talk a little bit about that to close the show. Yes, it is indeed trade season and no one can escape it. But let's first do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers win 101-79. The Orlando Magic scored 79 points in the game, and they did it with getting Franz Wagner back, who's been out since early December, missed the last 20 games, comes back with returns from his oblique injury, and his Jamal Mosley told reporters before the game that Franz was going to be limited to about 20 minutes, but he got in there and played 21 and played really well. The problem was that no one else did. The Blazers playing this game without DeAndre Ayton, who has missed the game with left knee soreness. DA left the game on Tuesday evening with about 1:30 left and clearly had some discomfort in his left knee. He was getting checked out by the training staff. I will say, the good news about that, no PDF in the email. If you're a long-time listener to the program, you know that when there's like a serious injury, the Blazers will send a press release, and that usually comes in the form of a PDF. They also write it in the body of the email, but no PDF on Ayton, and they're just calling it left knee soreness. That's probably a good sign, right? And that's probably just like for now, you think that lack of real news and the general vagueness of the injury is probably just means a short-term thing. So without DA, Rob Williams steps in. Obviously, still no Donovan Clingan. We have not heard. He's supposed to get reevaluated. I bet we will hear something about Clingan, if not tomorrow, when the Blazers land in Charlotte, or Friday, today, when the Blazers land in Charlotte. You're listening to Friday, January 24th episode. I'm recording this on the evening of the 23rd. But on Friday, I would imagine we will hear something. If not, Saturday's a travel day and they play Sunday. So we will see when we hear, but I wouldn't be surprised if Friday sometime in that afternoon range we get a Donovan Clingan update, because it was supposed to hear in about a week his quote unquote reevaluation date, which should have already come up. But so no Donovan Clingan, no DA. You start Rob Williams in the middle, but the Blazers change up the starting lineup. Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, Denny Avdia, Rob Williams, and Anthony Simons, and the beginning of the game was a rock fight. We'll talk a lot about this starting lineup in the second segment, I promise. The beginning of the game is a rock fight. The Blazers score 18 points in the first quarter. That's not enough points. The Magic only had 21, though. It's 21-18 after one. Neither team can score. The Magic have lost 4 in a row coming into this game. They're a mess in terms of just like they've been a very good defensive team. At times this year, they've been an elite defensive team with a passable offense. Right now, that passable offense part is not really showing up for them, and it's been a struggle. Hence, they finished this game with 79. So when they scored 21 in the first quarter, you're like, oh, okay. They weren't going to get more points, y'all. That was going to be their highest scoring quarter. Blazers hold the Magic to just 18 in the second quarter and go into halftime up 47-39, and the Blazers did not trail in the second half. They're up 8 going into the break. It's kind of a close game throughout the third quarter, but the Blazers closed the third quarter on a 10-1 run, capped by a Shaedon Sharpe driving baseline dunk. They're up 15, their largest lead of the game at the time, and the Magic do not threaten in the fourth quarter. Up 74-59 after 3, and the Blazers cruise 101-79. That's your fastest recap in the West. I think the Blazers played about as good a defensive game as we've seen them play under Chauncey Billups, period, full stop. I think they were connected. I think the energy was there. I think the effort was there. I think the rotations were spot on, and they played with real purpose and urgency and physicality, and also the Magic sucked. Both things can be true, right? I think the Magic were a mess. The Magic they just do not have enough shooting to shoot you out of an aggressive defense. Like, they can't make you pay for like really helping and loading up and loading the paint. They just don't have enough shooters. They're missing some guys, right? The Magic have been hurt all year, but they're missing Jalen Suggs. Mo Wagner is done for the year with an ACL. They're missing my guy Gogo Batadze, who's in the concussion protocol. They're shorthanded. They've been shorthanded all year, but they get Wagner back, like Franz, that is the younger Wagner. Like, and Paolo Banchero's there. Banchero went 1 of 14. He was horrendous. The Blazers played really good defense, and they were really attentive. And when Paolo Banchero got into the paint and tried to score, and get little push shots up in the middle of the paint or on the right side, like, the Blazers showed bodies and made life hard on him. But he played like he was getting challenged by Brady Manick. Like, he was having flashbacks. The Magic were really bad. They're really limited, and the Blazers played a fantastic defensive game. I thought Rob Williams was about as bouncy as we've seen him. He had a lob dunk where he jumped up at the square. He had a block where he jumped up at the square. We're talking like, if the rim is 10 feet, the square is 12. He's like easily springing up that high. I thought he was very, very active. I thought it was another good Jeremy Grant game. I thought Jeremy Grant played pretty darn good defense against Miami and Jimmy Butler to begin the trip on Tuesday. I thought, again, played darn good defense in this game as well. Toumani and Denny gave you that defensive presence you want. Toumani was really good early. I thought Denny's physicality on both ends was really good. In the grand scheme of things, I think this was a good defensive game for Anthony Simons. Like, in terms of effort, focus, all of those things, like, he was pretty darn good. The person who had a bad game was Sterling Henderson. Scoot fouled out in 13 minutes. Played 13-50. 4 fouls in the first half. A dumb foul for his 5th in the third quarter. It's not lack of effort. It's the wrong effort. He's trying too hard to do something that's not going to work. He's fighting over a screen with both his hands. Like, you gotta pick your spots there. Everybody was getting after it. Scoot was trying to get in the mix, and he committed too many fouls. And so even while he came off the bench, it's a weird game, right? Because we didn't see what sort of a natural... There was only 2 true minutes of garbage time, but in the first 46 minutes, we didn't see what like a natural Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson off the bench rotation would have looked like because of the foul trouble for Scoot. But like, I think they played really well. And that is, in some ways, it's not a problem. I was going to kind of angle in that direction. It's not a problem. The point of any individual basketball game is to play your best and win, right? That's the point. But thinking of it as an individual basketball game is the actual problem. Chauncey Billups coached his butt off to win a game on Thursday. He got everyone playing hard. He got everyone playing together. They put together an exceptional defensive effort, and the Magic are a bad defense, but 79 is a whole different beast, right? Like, 79 is a whole different thing. The Blazers is just their second win of the year by at least 20 points, just their 4th win by 15 or more this season. They do not do this to teams. They dominated the Magic. Chauncey Billups got a lot out of his guys. He pushed the right buttons, he made the right call, and he did things the right way in order to win a game in Orlando, Florida, the city beautiful, on a Thursday evening. My question is this the right process? And are we seeing what I have called in the past organizational alignment? Is this the plan? And what is exactly... The team played very well. I don't want to take anything away from them there. But I do want to talk about big picture stuff in the second quarter, because when I watch this team and I see the starting lineup come out and a healthy Scoot Henderson and a healthy Shaedon Sharpe are coming off the bench in January 2025, my immediate response is, Let's unpack the in the second segment. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, let's talk FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. And they got you covered for the NFL playoffs from the first drive to the final whistle, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. The FanDuel app is easy to navigate, and it's got a variety of bets to keep the game exciting. It's clean, easy to use, and you can get in on all types of action. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around for your winnings, whether you're betting on your favorite team or your favorite team's already gone home, or you're just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs because your team's already gone home. FanDuel has you covered. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right. So, I think Chauncey Billups nailed it. I think he nailed it. And I think he did exactly what he wanted to do, because on Tuesday, he told us this is what he wanted to do. And by us, I mean Casey Holdall. Nature of the beast. Not a lot of media traveling with basketball teams these days, particularly bad ones. And the Blazers, while they have been much better lately, are 16-28. They're not one of the good basketball teams. So on Tuesday, Casey Holdall, the Blazers team reporter, a team employee, reported that if Toumani Camara had been available to play against the Heat, he would have started. He would have been a starter in that game. But he was unavailable because he was dealing with an illness, food poisoning, so, gastrointestinal distress. So, doesn't play on Tuesday, but he would have been in the starting lineup. Well, he's feeling better after a trip a little further north up Florida to beautiful Central Florida, and he gets closer to my man Mickey Mouse, and he says, "I'm ready to go." And Chauncey Billups says, "I know you are, and you're starting." Anthony Simons, Toumani Camara, Jeremy Grant, Denny Avdia, Rob Williams. I think that's your four best defenders in two, and Denny, Rob, and JG. I think Scoot's probably been better lately than Anthony Simons, but neither of them are good defenders. Like, for as much as like Anthony Simons is like a famously bad defender, Scoot has also for his career been pretty stinky on defense. But I think Scoot's been way, way, way better over the last 3 weeks than he's ever been in his career. So shout out to him for making those strides. In any case, it's like you probably don't have an elite defender at that spot. I guess Delano would be your best choice in theory. But in any case, you put your four best defenders on the court, and what do? You freaking hold the Orlando Magic to 21 points, 18 points, 20 points, and 20 points in 4 quarters. They never cracked the 22-point mark in 4 quarters. They absolutely dominated them. Billups had a vision. He executed that vision. His team executed exactly the plan. They played fantastically, and they dominated a game. Dominated the game. I think this was a pretty fun game. Watching Rob Williams bounce around, pretty dang fun. Watching Toumani Camara fly around, pretty dang fun. Anthony Simons finished with 21 points to lead the way. You got 16 from Toumani Camara, who was active. He was attacking the glass, particularly off the bounce, or attacking the rim, particularly off the bounce. I thought this was a pretty damn good Jeremy Grant game. But it's hard to watch this team in 2025 and think that any combination that doesn't include at least one of Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe in the starting lineup and playing real minutes makes any sense whatsoever. If Chauncey Billups was trying to win one game on Thursday night in Orlando, he freaking nailed it. The question that I ask is that the plan? Is the plan to win one game Thursday night in Orlando, to win a January game in Orlando? Not that the win matters. I don't care about the ping pong balls. This isn't about tanking. I don't give a hoot about that. I give it a hoot about the larger process. In the grand scheme of life and basketball life, Shaedon Sharpe, who played 24 and a half minutes tonight, the difference in 24 and a half minutes and 32 and a half minutes is probably negligible over the course of a couple weeks. It probably means absolutely nothing to his overall larger development in the course of his growth as a player and a human. But the process in which this Blazers team doesn't roll out 30 minutes for Shaedon Sharpe and roll out 30 minutes for Scoot Henderson, what is the point? Miss me with the trade showcase nonsense. That's just not what teams are doing this time of year. There is no difference to having Anthony Simons play a little bit less, or having Tumani or Denny play a little bit less, and have or Jeremy Grant play a little bit less. Although I think that's illegal in Blazerland. Have them play a little bit less, and have your young guys play. It's what I've called organizational alignment. Is everyone in the organization on the same page? Is everyone pulling the rope in the same direction? This is my problem with the sort of larger process here. Blazers played great. They put their best players on the court. They did the thing you do to win a basketball game. But the larger picture for this team isn't about winning any individual basketball game. It's about making sure you get positive developmental minutes for your young core to find out what you have. If Shaedon Sharpe sucks, you would like to go ahead and find that out. I don't think he sucks, but if he's incapable of playing 33 minutes at a high level and winning basketball games, it'd be great to go ahead and find that out when he's now, and have as much data on it now as you possibly can, as opposed to like a little bit more Jeremy Grant and Tumani Kamara. The process doesn't make sense. Organizational alignment. What does the front office want? What does the coaching staff want? What does ownership want? Well, one of the challenges is that Chauncey Billups is a lame duck coach, almost certainly coaching for his next job in another organization. He's coaching in the final year of his contract. There's a team option for next year. They haven't renewed it. All of the sort of obvious speculation around the world is that he will not be renewed, and he's almost certainly just going to say, hey, we didn't pick up your option. Thanks for 4 great years, Chauncey. You set us in the right direction. We're going to go hire another coach, right? And he'll say, thanks. I really enjoyed my time in Portland. Peace. That seems like what happens in April. That seems like the most likely scenario, something like a 95% chance. But when you have a coach that is coaching to show that he's capable, he sure as hell doesn't want to roll out youngsters that are worse than the players in front of them, to be sure. Like, Scoot's been really good lately. He had a stinker tonight, but he's been really good lately. He's playing his best basketball. To have him go back to the bench when he's playing his best basketball for this team just doesn't make any sense to me. Shaedon Sharpe, I think it's fine for him getting benched because he wasn't playing his defense at the level that was required or requested of him, right? But playing both of them off the bench seems ludicrous. But if you were trying to win a game, those are your best players to put on the court to win a game, because Chauncey Billups isn't invested in the big picture. Because you know what looks bad for Chauncey Billups right now? Getting his ass beat. If the Blazers get blown out again, you know what it looks like? Chauncey Billups lost, 17, 18, 24 games by at least 20 points. Coaches under contract that are aligned with the organization, that know that they're part of the long-term plan, that know that losing is okay, they have the leeway to make decisions that allow for positive developmental situations. Billups was not afforded by that by this organization. So what he did tonight is coach one hell of a basketball game. Is that organizational alignment? And if it is, let's be 100% clear. If this is organizational alignment, because I believe Joe Cronin is on this trip. There's pictures of him in Miami. You would assume if he was in Miami, he made his way to Orlando as well, unless he went somewhere else along the way. But he was at least has been as part of this trip, and it's not every single road trip that the GM is on by any means. If this is the plan, if this is what they want for some reason, the process, if this is the alignment of everybody, that process still stinks. Like, my read on it is that it's like, because not everyone is capable of being on the same page, because not everyone's priorities are the same, because of the way the organization has made some decisions over the last 12 months, you got to look out, people are making decisions that are, that don't see the long tail of this franchise. Let me repeat this again before I switch gears. I do not think it is like dramatically impactful that Shaedon Sharpe played 24 and a half minutes tonight. Who knows how many Scoot would have played if he didn't foul out in 6 minutes, or foul out in commit 6 fouls in less than 14 minutes. Whew, 13 minutes and 50 seconds for Scoot. Yikes. Who knows? But I know this. I'm pretty sure this group is going to start in Charlotte on Friday, and it'll be their first chance to win 4 games in a row since October of 2022, when they won their first 4 games in a row to begin the 2022-2023 season. It's been a long time. It's January of 2025. They haven't had a stretch like this. If I were the coach, knowing that I was the lame duck coach in this exact situation, you know what I would do? I would put my best dudes out there and try to win a game against a bad basketball team. But if you were a coach, under contract, promised a future, who's included in the organization, if you're aligned with the organization for the long-term benefit of the team, you know what I would do? I would play my youngsters and figure out a way to maybe win the game if that happens, but the priority would be the development of the youth over everything else. My worry with this game is that they looked awesome and it was fun, but it is not the plan. If everyone's not on the same page and maybe not even reading the same book, what are we doing? What are we doing? What? If you're not walking down the same path, it doesn't seem like you can generate a bunch of positive outcomes, because you're going in disparate directions. Certainly in any individual game you'd like to win, but you have to keep the big picture in mind. But if your vision of the big picture is different from another person's vision of the big picture, it can get a little messy. And I feel like that's what this game was. The Blazers played great. They played really well. They dominated a game, and it made me think, what is the process here? What is the larger process for the organization? I know that's a little bit of a bummer here in the middle of the program, so let's talk about trades instead. Join me in the third segment. We'll do what everyone loves and play the transaction game. Join me there, won't ya? First, though, I want to tell you about TALKSPACE. Therapy is a game changer. It can help you manage your stress, it can help you improve your sleep, and it can help you to communicate more effectively. But finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where TALKSPACE comes in. TALKSPACE, the leading virtual therapy provider, makes getting the help you need easy, accessible, and affordable. With TALKSPACE, signing up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours, and it's convenient. You can have sessions from your home. It's teletherapy, and when you need to, you can message your therapist in between appointments to make sure that you're staying on schedule and staying on track. Plus, TALKSPACE is covered by many insurance plans, and for most insured members, there's a $0 copay. It's never been easier to prioritize your mental health. As a listener of this podcast, you'll also get $80 off your first month with TALKSPACE when you go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the promo code SPACE80 to match with a licensed therapist today. Go to TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA and enter that promo code SPACE80 to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's TALKSPACE.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code SPACE80. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I'm thinking about the big picture stuff when I'm watching this game. I enjoy the game, to be clear, but I'm thinking about the big picture stuff. I'm I'm making content, y'all. So my brain is thinking small and thinking big. The other thing I'm thinking about is that the Magic have 79 points. Holy cow. They need some help. They need to be able to score, and it is hard to watch Anthony Simons score 21 points on 8 of 15 shooting. A very Anthony Simons game, 21, 3 and 3 with 3 turnovers, 8 of 15, 3 of 6 from the floor. Efficient, scored his points, didn't do a lot else. But it's impossible to watch the Magic and watch Orlando's only son. Not his only son. Orlando's actually a very big city. Orlando's most famous Northwest son, Anthony Simons. And think like, boy, he could help. And I know that it seems like the Magic were never actually interested in trading for Anthony Simons. The people who were interested were me and you and other people on the internet, like bloggers, media members. I guess there's not really bloggers anymore. Rest in peace to the blog game. Media members, podcasters, sports fans, people who are both media members and sports fans, people who are both media members and podcasters, people who are both sports fans and podcasters, the whole Venn diagram. That's who wanted him to get traded to Orlando. It seems like there wasn't really much traction between the teams at any point. In fact, from the reporting, the public reporting that's out there, the Blazers never really considered trading Anthony Simons at all in the last offseason. We just never got there. Whether there was appetite to get there or not, it seems like we never got there. We never heard word one about packages or anything like that from anybody. But the Magic could still use Ant. It's still incredibly clear. So I messaged my friend and host of Locked On Magic, Philip Rossman-Reich. I said, you think the Magic will make a trade for a little bit more offense? Even if it's not Anthony Simons, do you think they'll make a trade? And he said, if they'd ask me, shout out to Phil, who does a good job over on Locked On Magic. Go check it out. Phil said, if you'd asked me a few weeks ago, I probably would have said no, that like if they just got to get healthy, and once they get healthy and they get right, then they'll make their moves. But Phil said he's changed his tune a little bit, and he does think that the Magic will probably attempt to add something because they're just not in they fancy themselves in that tier with, New York and Milwaukee, and maybe the upper echelon of Cleveland and Boston, but certainly like the New York and Milwaukee tier, and they're probably below that, right? And if you're below that tier, it's really, you're going to have to get really lucky to win multiple playoff series, much less one playoff series to get there, right? Because if you're the 5th best team in the East, you're going to be on the road and underdogs to begin a series, even if you're the best of the underdogs in a weak conference. But like, what Phil said is that he anticipates that they will make a trade, and that while it might not be Anthony Simons because that's maybe not their move, that like certainly that the Magic need, they could use some help because they're just lacking shot creation. They're lacking offense in general. It's undeniable that those are their needs. They need more shot creation. They need more offense. So after talking to Phil, I hit up my preferred trade machine and cooked up a little trade. The problem is the easy one that I wanted to make is not cap legal. I was going for a simple one. Anthony Simons in exchange for Cole Anthony and Gary Harris. In that deal, the Orlando Magic would give away the 2025 pick they have first round pick from the Denver Nuggets to make it happen. You assume that's a late round pick because the Nuggets are finally rolling. The Blazers get incentivized. Cole Anthony is struggling this year, even though he's a Tar Heel and a legend. But, you take on the future money owed to him, some money owed to Gary Harris, and you say, okay, well, that's how you get a first-round pick out of this, and you get the offense that Orlando desperately needs. To make that really work, you would have to throw in Caleb Houston and Delano Banton, and then the Blazers would likely have to waive someone, so you're talking probably waive Duop Reith or trade him somewhere else in a trade prior to that where you get nothing back, or maybe waive Jabari Walker. Jabari Walker, haven't mentioned him, really good in this game, had 6 steals, was incredibly active. Is that a perfect trade? I don't know. Would the Magic trade a first-round pick to acquire Anthony Simons? I know they need it. And talking to Phil, I think that's the sort of desperation. Again, like, to be honest, to be clear here, like, Philip is a podcaster like me. He's not reporting anything. It's just speculation based on someone who's close to the team and covers them every day, what their read is on what could happen. And Phil's reads that the Magic could and probably likely would want to upgrade the shot creation and the shooting a little bit. But Phil's choice isn't Anfernee Simons. So in my fake trade, before I get to his choice, my fake trade, Anfernee Simons, Delano Banton to Orlando in exchange for Cole Anthony, Gary Harris, Caleb Houston, and a 2025 first from the Denver Nuggets, likely a late 2025 first round pick. I don't know that the Magic say yes to this, and I didn't specifically pitch this one to Phil. It might be a little too rich, but I think that's a fairly lofty, hopeful trade because you're taking back some future money in it. But Phil said, the person I've got my eye on is Colin Sexton, and a similar deal centered around Gary Harris's money and Cole Anthony's money, but for Colin Sexton. And I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sexton seems to fit a lot of what Orlando wants to do. And it kind of just reminded me of when you head into the fake trade world, and when you head into the deadline, is like a lot of teams across the league have similar goals. How can we get off this veteran contract that isn't helpful here, but could be helpful somewhere else? And how could we sort of thread the needle? And I think for the sort of combo-y guards, Sexton probably fits what Orlando needs a little, Orlando's style a little more than Ant does. But I think Anfernee Simons could help. And I can't help but watch the Orlando Magic and think, yeah, let their native son, let the local kid come back and, ply his trade there, because Orlando could cover for a lot of his deficiencies, and his specific skill set would help them. He seems to be a fit for him. Sexton, I would admit, also seems to be a fit, and quite frankly, a better stylistic fit because he's such an intense bulldog when he wants to be on defense. That's my trade season thoughts, is that there are teams now, as we get close, that are kind of having these moments, looking in the mirror and saying "Oof, we're not what we wanted to be," or "Oh, we're close to what we want to be." And the Blazers are hopefully going to be able to take advantage of that to some extent. But it all goes back to organizational alignment. What does everybody want? What does everybody want? Is everybody pulling the rope in the same direction? And if they aren't, or if they are unable to move guys, I think this will be the disappointing part for me. If they aren't able to move guys and then they shut everyone down, and that's when we get the Shaedon Sharpe, Scoot Henderson looks, that's not going to feel the same as just committing to it during the season because everyone wants the same thing, and that's the long-term growth of the franchise. Would you have maybe lost the game to the Magic? I don't know if you lost this game to the Magic, but certainly you're likely to have worse minutes out there with a worse lineup. But that's also why you pursue some of these trades, because you want to declutter this roster and find out what you have. Even if the answers are in the negative, my hope is that the Blazers have more clarity on where they're headed by the time we get to the second week of February. That is going to do it for today's show. Blazers play a couple games before we will have our next podcast here. They play in Charlotte on Friday evening, and then a matinee game against the Oklahoma City Thunder on Sunday. I'll be in the arena for that one. So look for a Sunday evening podcast covering what we saw in both of those games. Is what we do 5 days a week wherever you get podcasts, and also on YouTube. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.